Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video, we are looking at Westwater resources. This was a stock analysis request from one of the followers, and I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests, and I'll most likely cover them, especially if there is an actionable trade setup to follow. And in the case of this chart, we are unfortunately dealing with a very bearish structure, and I mentioned this even in the previous video. But the preference remains that we actually extend to lower prices. Yeah, in the main interpretation, we were actually tracking a 1-2 setup here, where then we would expect to form a third wave to the downside. Now, overall, let's track from the beginning. Here we have an initial wave 1 down that could be tracked as a 5-wave move. We have a wave 2 correction, and then a 1-2 setup here, another 1-2 setup here, a third wave down, a fourth wave up, and then a fifth wave that is expected to unfold. And even once this fifth wave actually completes and forms a bottom, I would personally still expect a couple of additional 4 or 5 patterns to complete a larger 5-wave move to the downside. Now, once that is done, we could see a large initial wave 1 down, a wave 2 up, and then a third wave that could basically take us lower and so on. Now, realistically, we could be building something like an ABC movement, in which case we would only need to build here a 1-2, finish this wave 3, form a fourth and a fifth to complete the larger structure. But based on how strong the overall movement to the downside within this pattern is, we could very safely expect to form another fourth and a fifth to complete a larger 5-wave move to the downside. Now, for the smaller time frame, I provided you in the previous video a couple of resistance areas for signals that we should be expecting something more bullish. Firstly, for the correction in wave 4, we formed a 3-wave pattern to the upside quite clearly that took us into the 38.2% retracement, the ideal target for a wave 4, and then we continued in a larger structure to the downside. Yeah, quite a substantial movement has followed afterwards that, to be honest, I could perhaps even track as a 5-wave move to the downside. That could be an initial wave 1 down, we could be afterwards tracking a wave 2 up, and a third wave still to follow through. Now, so far within this wave 2, we have only gotten to the 61.8% retracement perfectly. That could allow a more significant top to be in place within a WXY correction, in which case we really don't need any additional highs to consider this structure complete. Yeah, I believe we had it formed a top already in the previous video, and we basically already had warning signs flashing and telling us that this is not reliable structure and that we should be prepared for further continuation lower. Now, if this is indeed to build a third wave to the downside, we could even be looking for an ideal target, and that would be the 138.2% extension of the wave 1 around the 2.7 cent level. Yeah, that is the ideal target for a wave 3, and this is expected to form overall a 5-wave move to the downside. And then we were looking for possible continuation higher, so a break above the 78.6% retracement would have been a signal that we may be able to at least get a reset within the large wave 4, not necessarily to form a more significant bottom that would allow us to start a larger uptrend, but certainly a reset would have been possible. And I provided you a short-term area of support. And not even for that, to be honest. We were tracking an ABC structure within this area. We were looking still for possible continuation higher, but this was not a high probability trade setup, and we have failed to hold the 61.8% retracement at the $1.3 level, and we have trended down ever since. Yeah, we just basically continued because this is and has been a very sharp decline. Now, I could maybe even consider this to form a larger 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th, but even then, it would have failed to hold this area of support as well, and nothing really reliable can be tracked in a continuation to higher prices. And realistically, the only thing that could allow me to track continuation higher sooner rather than later would be the idea that this would not be a wave 1 complete, and that we would still need to form a fifth wave within this structure to form the actual wave 1, and I would be tracking this in the orange interpretation. But even here, I would actually like to still see a lower low before we look for such an idea. Yeah, in this interpretation, we are still tracking a 5-wave move to the downside, where the wave 4 has only just formed the top, and we would now be in a fifth wave to the upside. Although, if we form or if we break above the previous wave 4 top and the 61.8% retracement in orange, it would not even be a possible scenario anymore, and yeah, we would only be left with this idea of a 1-2 strap in yellow if we are still to follow lower. Now, can we realistically track any continuation higher? not reliably, unfortunately. We could be looking maybe for something like a 1, 2, 3, where in the wave 3 we could be tracking an ABC movement. In that case, we can have an area of support, but I won't even add a count for that scenario on the chart. It's just such a low probability interpretation. It's such a high risk area, and I would caution you to be much more prepared for continuation lower than another bounce higher. Sure, we did not yet break the area of support, we are still above the 78.6% retracement, but below the 70.7 cent level, I would be heavily prepared for continuation to lower prices with even higher probabilities, yeah? Either in a wave 3 in yellow or in a fifth wave in orange, we should be prepared heavily, yeah, with high probability for continuation lower. And if we are to even track this internal structure to the downside, I could actually argue that this is a 5-wave move complete. This could be something like 1, 2, 3rd, 4th, and the 5th. We don't need any additional lows to consider it done, and I could be tracking a resistance area. Although I want to caution you, this may have formed a 5-wave move to the downside sooner rather than later. Yes, something like a 1, 2 setup, and then this could already be in a series. Yeah, maybe not in a series, but another 1, 2 setup could also work out within this area. I wouldn't in the end look too much into the internal structure, because anything that seems to be forming here to the upside isn't reliable yet. Yeah, sure, it could extend into a more reliable structure, but it hasn't yet. This could be just a wave 1 to the downside, part of a very strong later move to follow. And for that, I would be watching here the levels between the $1.4 all the way up to the $2.6 level. And if we manage, however, to break above the 78.6% retracement in yellow, it would be an interesting signal that we may yet get another break, another chance to push higher. But again, it's not reliable. We would at the very least, need an internal 5-wave structure within this area to look for a potential trade setup on the long side. But right now, the bears are leading very, very heavily, and we are still siding with them. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.